How's it going, guys and gals? Hope you're all having a great week or a great weekend, whatever the case may be. This came one day ago. Already busted it out, putting it to heavy use. Master Airbrush Kit. Highly recommend, guys. It comes highly recommended by a lot of painters out there who use this for their minis, their models. It's introductory level. We're talking not a huge expense. This whole kit with the cleaner pot and the airbrush cleaner was $100 on Amazon. Grab this. I highly recommend it. In a second, I'm going to cut to a couple of examples of doing my initial base coat on my my other new kit, which will be focused in another video. But working on my Napoleonics and getting my first couple units built, how nice this kit was. So yeah, I did lots of research over the last couple weeks. I've mentioned in another video how this last can of aerosol paint that I purchased for my Brits for Flames of War, $12 a can for the can, and the coverage was poor. We're not going to get into the manufacturer. You can go back and look at the other videos. I think I may have mentioned it. But so down here in the studio in the morning, waiting for the dew to get off the grass so I can mow my 3-acre lawn. So down here is still trying out. I went ahead and built 4 of my French infantry. Then I'm going to make my first test stand. I'm going to be working out my colors and how I'm going to go forward with the French. I'm going to start building the French first, since I just finished building a bunch of large-scale British figs. So I think that's the route I'm going to go. I think once I start building this kit out, the first thing I'm really going to add, since this has infantry and cavalry and 1 artillery unit, definitely going to get more artillery. Obviously the French artillery is famous, the 12-pounders, the 6-pounders, so I'm definitely going to build that out. So the use of this airbrush is going to make this build be more higher quality, because as you know, using aerosols, not only they're, the 2X that I use for primer, either the white or the black, that can be anywhere from $5 to $10 a can, depending on when you get it, if it's on sale. That adds up over time. So not only the fumes, I showed you in another video, I've got a little plastic Rubbermaid container I just turned on its side, and I'm up by the window, the exhaust window over here, so that it's letting the fumes out. It's well ventilated. But the biggest problem that we have as painters using aerosols is getting the consistency of the paint to get on the model, so that it's not too heavy, it's not too light. You find the undercoatings, like under coats, under arms, those will be lighter, and the tops of the model will be darker. So the consistency of the application of the paint is really poor and very inconsistent. So there's another big negative of using aerosols. The expense, the constant ongoing expense. So you got these primers over here. I've got a kit for $20. It was the gray, the white, and the black. The 3 colors are the only colors I would ever use. And there are times I will use gray, but mostly blacks for vehicles, up on the undercarriage of the vehicles, up in the wheel wells, up in the tank tracks. I like to do a base coat of black before I start putting my olive drabs and other colors on. So really for my minis, my wargaming minis, I'm finding that 95% of the time I'm going to white. And like I said, well, it doesn't get up in the yeah, I can deal with that with the paint and with the washes. Right? If I really need to get up in an underarm area where I can't paint on a precast mini, I'll get a fine brush and get black up in there. But I'm finding that's not the case. I just did my Brits, and I base coated them in white, and they turned out amazing, I think, for my current skill level, which is another reason why I went ahead and took the plunge into airbrushing is not just the improved quality of the base coating. It's, you know, taking my painting up to that next level. You know, I've watched some of your videos from some of you guys out there, and I'm inspired by how excellent your models look, and I'm saying I want to go there, right? So I need to model myself after the other modelers, right? I need to find out, hey, how are they doing it? What are they doing? And you know, a lot of them, they're using airbrushes. You know, the airbrush just puts the base coat on light, so you're not hiding the details that the aerosols can tend to do and get it too heavy, which was my frustration with this last can that I used, and it was coat after coat after coat. There wasn't a lot of pigment in there, so then you're tempted to get up too close, and there were times that I got too much and I had to wipe off the primer with a paper towel because it was getting too heavy on their faces and hiding some of the detail. And I said, you know, as I said in the other video, that is it, I'm done. I said, I keep saying next week, next month, you know, this winter I'm going to get an airbrush, and the cost has come down on them so much, guys. They're saying, you know, 100% of these airbrush compressors are all coming out of China anyways. Even the Iwatas, the Badgers, all those are coming out of China, and they're just putting their names on them. So really the quality difference between a low price air compressor, which, you know, these Masters, you can get just the compressor for, you know, 60, 70 bucks. And if you really get to looking at the other compressors online, they're the same compressor, right? That they're selling for $250, $280. It's the exact same compressor. Now you get up into some of the higher end Iwatas, they're using the steel cylinders. You know, it is designed for someone that's using the airbrush professionally. It's using the airbrush literally day in, day out, all day. Commission painters, you know, you name it, artists, guys that do stencil t-shirts and hats, you know, they're going to need a really high quality compressor that's got better components. But now you're talking air compressors that can push over $500 and up, right? You're talking more of a compressor that has a tank, a reserve air tank, which I have in both of my shops. I have air compressors. They're designed to run at higher PSIs, you know, for putting air in tires, you know, for running power tools, air tools. So that's a completely different thing. These little mini compressors that you can literally put on your desktop like I have are the way to go. I'm in a well-ventilated area. My windows are open. Most of the time when I'm down here working, even in the winter time, I'll pop a window open just to get some nice cool airflow through here. So I personally right now, the research I've done, since I'm going to only be using acrylics, I'm not going to be using enamels, and acrylics are water-based. I'm not concerned about you know, issues with the particles. I'm getting one of those little mini booths. If you're in a confined area, a small area, yeah, maybe. I'm not finding I'm getting a whole lot of drift. I'm getting the most I'm getting is a little bit on the tips of my fingers, and I go up to the kitchen and I wash my hands and it comes right off. So just a little bit. I've used it here in the last 24 hours. I'm not seeing a lot of drift. I'm not seeing a lot of overspray. I can see it's starting to build up a little bit, but this is I have a pad that I'm spraying into, and I don't care if this gets covered in paint, honestly, because it's already covered in paint. That's what it's there for. I may find, you know, I might put down a piece of paper or something when I paint, maybe a paper towel or something. If it finds that this is getting too white too quick, I don't know, but I don't see it's a huge issue. But again, you know, this kit that I bought, the Amazon kit, combined kit, comes with your cleaner. Basically, I'm just been using this to hold my airbrush. I really like this airbrush. I think it's working great for my purposes. I think at some point in the future, I'm probably gonna just pick up the Iwata Eclipse. It seems like a lot of guys love that airbrush. You know, check out Dr. Faust. He has a huge series of videos. He uses a Badger Eclipse, or a Iwata Eclipse. So at some point in the future, just that airbrush is 125 bucks on Amazon. So you can get this whole kit for less than that. Get you started. I'm going to use this probably for a couple of years. If I start getting into some fancier dioramas in the future, and I really want to use the airbrush more for things, I'll probably at that point move up and get a nicer airbrush. A lot of guys are getting 3, 4, 5 years out of these airbrushes before the air cylinder needs replaced, which is like a $10 part. So you just throw a new air cylinder on there, it's just a little mechanism that allows the air to come up and through the airbrush from the compressor. And there's a little rubber seal, a couple little rubber seals in there, and I guess over time with constant action, the rubber seal wears out. I mean, what's that? A $10 part? I mean, seriously. So you got to really consider when I said, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to research the airbrushes and get something that's really, it's going to get the job done at an affordable price. I'm always on a budget. I have 2 kids. In running a business, you have to stay within a budget. So, again, I'm being repetitive here, but seriously think about what you're going to be using the brush for, and getting this setup is perfectly matched for what a lot of us are going to use it for. So, I'm really liking it. Obviously, as we move forward here as future videos, if I have problems with this system, you'll be the first to know about it. But if you know anything about compressors and pumps and electric motors, in college I worked at Granger, which is an industrial supply company. I learned a lot about electric motors and diaphragms and pumps and things. And I deal with pumps and motors and things for my work, since I spray people's plants. It's a very simple. It comes down to the ring or the seals, the rubber seals, and I don't care if it's a $800 unit or a $100 unit. Eventually, those seals are going to go bad. Now, the better systems, you can just buy a new ring kits and tear it apart and rebuild it. Where these are more throwaway, but again, that's the person that's using that compressor day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. This is so intermittent use. Like I said, if I get 3 to 5 years out of this compressor, I'll be perfectly happy. And at that point, I may say, hey, the kids are gone, we're done with college. I'm going to go ahead and just get that $500 Iwata compressor, right? Because I just want to be the last compressor I ever buy. So, anyways, shout out to all you guys. I'm going to throw in a couple clips right after this, showing you the action of the unit, how well it works, and you can decide for yourself. But I want to be that instigator. I want to push you towards getting into airbrush for your base coating and your top coating. It's gonna help you out, just like I see it. It's helping me out already on getting this new kit onto the table. All right, guys, you have a great one, and stay tuned for the next couple of segments. All right, guys. So we just did this guy, and I still got some paint in my pot. I got my airbrush cleaner here for when I get done, so I'm doing basically just let me turn my screen around here so you can see what's going on here. I'm basically just doing a preliminary thing. So I got my 2 liters that came in my starter kit. So I got my British Commander, my French Commander. I've got my gun team for the cannon, and this is I've decided for my artillery pieces I am doing 75mm by 75mm. This was an old Games Workshop movement tray that I obviously have scrapped and saved, and going to reuse to mount some of my cannons on. So so I wanted to get those as like a just a start to get a feel for the paint scheme I'm going to go for and the basing. So again, you know, I've used my Gatorade tops, and then I purchased a couple packages of this. It's basically poster tack. You can get this on Amazon for pretty cheap. I think it was 80 packs for, I don't know, $6, something like that. So it's cheap. That's what I'm using to hold the models on. As you can see, going to this system is a great idea because, and why guys use it out there, is because how small those bases are, and it's just so much better for airbrushing and painting each miniature individually, and then you mount them on the infantry square base 2x2. So going to do that based upon the Warlord game recommendations. So I still have some paint here. We're going to finish up these last two minis. I'm going to show you, whoa, almost a fumble, how easy it is to work with this primer in your airbrush. You can kind of hear how the airbrush is really quiet. I think I might need some more paint. I'm going to get low on paint. I just put a little bit at a time, especially since I'm doing just a few figs. I also found that when I don't pull back on the trigger and you just push down for air, it's really good for helping this dry quick. And like if I have some glue from assembly that I need to have dry, or even when I have filings, when I filed some of the lines off, which I gotta say guys, the mold lines, there's like no mold lines on these Warlord game figs. I mean, it's just like non-existent. I'm getting a little bubbly, but you can hear my rattler in there, my weight from my sinker. I wish these had a lid like comes on the airbrush cleaner with the point, so you could get it in the thing. I think that's what I'm going to go for next time. I'm going to look for a, I don't know, maybe I can find some lids that I can use in that regard. But if you're just watching this video, I would say look around, see if they've got a self-leveling primer like this out there with the pointy tips, because you can see that's starting to dribble on the lid. It's not a huge deal, but big enough. Alright, so keeping the lid off, I'm going to get my air started, and then gently pull back on the trigger, and out comes the paint. The nice thing, I can get all of the cracks and crevices. I'm really making sure that everything's getting covered nice, and it's not too much paint is the other key, guys. I got my brush set up right now with the adjustment cycle back here. Once you take this back portion off, you can adjust it. So when I've pulled all the way back, it's letting out the perfect amount of paint for what I'm using this brush for, which is a base coating and top coating. Being a miniatures painter, you know, I'm not doing a lot of models, although this will be great for models. Obviously, I'm doing camo. My primary use of this airbrush is going to be minis. Alright, so there was a guy here I'd noticed this morning when I was inspecting him. He had a little spot that I kind of missed. Was it this guy? Huh. I'm not sure which one he was. Oh, there it is. I see it just on his arm there. And that's how I'm doing it, guys. Just knocking them out. Try to do another close up here. Show you how nice this goes on the models. This self-leveling primer is amazing. So no more fumes, and this airbrush will pay for itself just in the fact that you're not buying aerosol cans anymore. I got all three of those primers, the gray, the white, and the black, for like 20 bucks. Right, and that stuff's going to go so far. I've just used a tiny bit of paint to do all these bigs. And the paint's not going on so heavy that it hides the detail of the model. Alright, so got the best lighting over here, but I think you can get a feel for just how nice that goes on. We can bring in a little tighter, we'll do a little tighter shot maybe, and see if we can get this puppy to focus on this mini. Probably not going to. Keep bringing him out, bringing him out. Now he's going to have to go all the way back here to the paint before we get a good look at him. There you go, guys. Self-leveling primer for airbrush. I'm sticking with the white, you know. So I'm going to go back over this guy again. Looks like there's some gray that didn't get covered well. Go back in. I think at some point I will upgrade to an Iwata airbrush. Iwata airbrush is like 125, but yeah. One of the details on this pack are amazing, just amazing. I didn't get you in the shot, did I? Get you over here. Yeah, you see the details on that pack. So let's go back out. And you can see what we're doing here. So there's the first of my formation, my first French formation. Those four will go on one stand, and then we're good. So I go back over. I'm just going to look over them again just to make sure no spots missed. I got really good coverage. I'm just really impressed with how this doesn't hide the details, right? And like I said in another segment, I really am working on going up to the next level on my painting, so that my minis just get better and better. My dioramas get better and better. There's a couple little spots I missed. But this really just, it really, when you, for me, I'm sticking with the white, guys, because to me the white's easier to cover than the black. Now there will be situations where I want to use the black, let's say vehicles, tanks, trucks, of the like. You can get this up in the treads of the tank and then do your your typical top coat, whether it be like a khaki or a olive drab, and still with the airbrush maintain the deep recesses of the tank track will still be really dark, right? And we can do other types of highlights up in there with the airbrush. So when I do use my airbrush for larger model kits, it's still going to be highly useful. But you know, you can't go wrong with this master airbrush because of the cost. I got the airbrush, the pump, what else? An airbrush cleaner, The research that I've done on these compressors is if you're using it for what I'm using it for, you're not, you know, using it every day professionally, obviously, and we're just casual hobbyists, and we're doing, like, what I bought it for is basically for doing base coats and top coats with my matte top coat. You know, we're looking at least 3 years life out of that compressor. Now the next stage up is you're going to go to the lower end high watt compressors, and they're about $300. They do have some kits for $350 that come with a lot of stuff, a low end Iowata brush. But I figured for my uses, this will be perfect. You know, and it gets really good ratings. This is the same pump that a lot of the companies are using. They just put their names on the pump. So I'm really liking the pump. It works really well. It's really quiet. I will tell you that on the bottom, because these feet, they look like they're little suction cups, but they're not. They're just little feet, rubber feet. I just went ahead and put two-sided, square little two-sided tapes on the bottom of them. Just keep it firm on the table. So this way I can adjust my air pressure if I need to, but like I said, I'm running at 20 psi. Now, if you guys go ahead and go and get this kit, which I highly recommend, I'm blown away by it. I didn't think I could get it into airbrushing for as cheap as this with a highly rated kit. Even the top airbrush guys out there that use them for model dioramas, for competitions and things, they're rating this as a 7.5, right? So, and those are guys that are using, you know, $1,000 airbrush systems. Because they, you know, they may paint professionally, they may do commission work and stuff too. So they're using the airbrush literally every day, a good part of the day. So they need that improved construction in the diaphragm and the piston system. So they're getting more life out of the pump. But for a casual hobbyist like myself, maybe every weekend, maybe every other weekend, I'm base coating and top coating my models, an occasional model kit build. This is going to last 3 to 5 years easy, and for the compressor is really, you know, $70 of the cost of the kit. You know, you can buy those all day long. If I get 5 years out of this air compressor, I'm going to be extremely happy. So so yeah, so there you have it. Great kit, but what I was getting to is if you get this kit, out of the box they got this thing set up so it shoots at the highest PSI, which for me it was registering at 60 PSI on the meter here. Now what I found, and the gun wasn't working, right, and I was freaking out. Oh, they sent me a bad gun. I thought the air valve at the base of the trigger was bad, but it turned out after I fiddled with it and experimented with it, it turns out that it won't operate. This airbrush will not operate at that high a PSI. That's from like a siphon setup with a siphon type feed system for a bottom feed. This needs to be more under 40 PSI. So when you get this out of the box, immediately get the regulator, and it's got a little lock on here. You just pull up, turn your regulator to the minus side, and get that PSI below 40. Like I said, I've been pretty much going at 20 PSI. The gun works perfect. Immediately the gun started working. So these airbrush guns are designed for using for different levels of PSI. So keep that in mind. Don't freak out. You get your unit out of the box like I did and the gun won't work because it's set too high. So that's the issue on that. So now I'll just run some little airbrush cleaner in here. I'll get my primer out again before I do that, and my paint is still nice and wet. And this is your airbrush cleaner pot here where you can run stuff through it and clean it out. I'm going to go right back over these models again, just make absolutely sure that I've got all the gray covered up. And this stuff dries really fast. It's ridiculous. It's like 30 seconds after I spray it on, it's dry. Yeah, it's just amazing. I said yesterday when I first started using the kit, I said, where has this thing been all my life? You know, why did I, and I said in other videos that, you know, how I'd been putting off getting into airbrush. And although I'm not using it for art and for detail work, I'm using it for applying coats. For us guys doing miniatures and wargaming, that's going to be 95% of what we use airbrush for, right? So you got to think about that too. So as far as cost, you know, investing $300 to $500 in a kit, and you're not going to use it as often as it's, you know, designed for. So keep that in mind when you are getting stuff. So there you have it. Let you guys get going. Hope you have a great week. Hope you have a great day. And I'll see you next time.